Hi friends, today we are talking about beginning activities for ukulele. You can use these if your students are just starting out or if they're already playing, but you want to back up a little bit and kind of reestablish some baseline skills. My name is Victoria Bowler. Let's jump in. First, let's back up and actually start away from the instrument because not all of our prep actually needs to be with the instrument itself. We can do a lot of work by stepping away from the instruments. So let's go here to ukulele and jump down to this activity with Astronomia. This is a song that students might already know before we introduce it. So we are holding our drums. Students are going to echo our rhythms with their palm. So they are using their left palm, it's held out in front of them, and with their right thumb, they are very gently moving down and up. So we are holding our drum as the teacher. We're going to hold it in our right hand. And with this recording playing, we are going to move into some of these space rhythms. So I might say orbit, students would echo orbit. I might say galaxy, students say galaxy. I might say new planet, students echo, and constellation, students echo. Okay, so what we have here is the strumming patterns of down and up, but we are establishing the down up with our right hand before we even touch the instrument. So after students have some practice working with their palm, we can hand students a hand drum of their own. This could be every student with a hand drum. I recommend though having just a few students at a time holding these, and then after a while they pass it off to someone else. As a side note, I also have a really fun stick routine that goes with this song that you can find in my Instagram highlights. So I'll link that down below as well. So we've established some of the mechanics of strumming up and down with our hand drum. Now let's transfer it to our actual instrument. So here with this activity, our song is I've Got to Be Myself. This is from the Staple Singers. And the transition here is that now we just replace the hand drum with our actual instrument. So the chorus of this song is really, really simple. I've got to be myself. I can't be nobody else. And effectively, this entire song is just a C chord. It's a one chord basically the whole time. And if you're listening very carefully, you will notice that it changes from the 1 to the 4, but it doesn't change the harmonic function. It's basically just that pedal tonic the whole entire time. So how could you describe yourself? We might describe ourselves in lots of ways in this class. We might say that we are empathetic, and if we were to play that on our instrument, it could sound like empathetic. We might also say we are energetic. We might say that we are talkative, or we might say that we are thoughtful, or we might say that we are brave. So with the recording playing, we're going to echo different words back and forth, playing on an open C chord. Now, I'm saying an open C chord because at this point, we're going to do actually about the same exact thing that we were doing in our last activity. We're holding our instrument with our left hand, and our right thumb is very gently brushing the strings down and up, but this time we're actually using the ukulele. Something to note here is that I can tune my instrument to G, C, E, G instead of G, C, E, A. I'm taking this string, the one that's closest to my toes, and I'm tuning it down a whole step. So now when we strum, it's just an open C chord, okay? So let's keep going. How else can we describe ourselves? We're gonna have some time to move back and forth with some echoing on our instrument, but then students can suggest their own adjectives and come up with their own strumming patterns to new words. One of the things to note is that none of these rhythms that I have here, none of them are anacrusic. So all of them begin right on the downbeat. So if students have a word that they want to play like amazing, then they can do that. It's just going to take a little bit of tweaking to figure out how it's going to work in the meter. Does that make sense? So here we might say that we are awesome. And then we can come up with some different strumming patterns. If I were to use two of these blocks, I might say that I am awesome talkative, awesome talkative, awesome talkative, awesome, talkative. So then with the song playing, with the recording of this song from the Staple Singers playing, we can all try out our different ostinati that we have made with some descriptions of ourselves. So then when it's time to play a C chord with our third finger, we can go back and do all of the same songs and activities that we were doing with an open chord. And the difference is that now we're just going to tune to our standard tuning, changing this from a G to an A, and then we will use our third finger on the third fret to play that C chord. And this introduces a whole new cognitive process for students, because now they have to translate what they see from us at the front of the room, and then they have to look at what they are looking at from their vantage point at their instrument. And if we have any sort of chord chart on the board, they also have to reorient themselves to that vertical chord chart, right? So there are a lot of different pieces that students need to connect. One of the most helpful things I learned about ukulele was from Lorelei Batisalong in her AOSA presentation a couple of years ago. And she suggested taking pictures of students' chord fingerings from their angle, like from the up top angle, so that students know what these different structures, what the different shapes look like from their vantage point. So let's look at these graphics for a C chord. That's where I got this idea of changing up the vantage point of what students see. So we have this person's toes and this person's nose, so we know which side of the instrument we are talking about. And then we're going to flip our angle so that we know which string is closest to our toes, which one is closest to our nose, and then we can keep that same orientation when we flip the instrument vertically. Next, we have these pictures of our hands. Notice that if our palm is down, the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 go from like the middle of our body out to the wall, from the right to the left if we are looking down at our hand. But when we flip it, students need to reorient those numbers so that they are moving from the left to the right. So that's something to note, is that the placement of your hand is going to change whether we are looking at numbers from right to left or from left to right. Good for students just to be aware of. And then when we're looking at our C chord, I have our same image of our toes and our nose, so which strings are closest to which part of our bodies. And then we have our horizontal view of the neck and our vertical view of the neck. So this idea from Lorelei of just looking at the instrument from the student's point of view and incorporating a couple different angles to round out how we are looking at these chord charts, that can be really helpful as we are introducing chords like our C chord. Okay, last, Pajarito Tan Bonito. This is a song that I use to teach so many concepts from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. It is absolutely a gem. So let's sing this together. Here we go. Pajarito tan bonito, pajarito, ¿dónde vas? A la cera verdadera, ping pong fuera. And in this counting game, whomever that last beat lands on, they are out. So ping pong fuera, that last person would be out in our counting game. So let's add an ostinato by very gently knocking on our ukulele. We're going to use our knuckles and ask, where are you going? Where are you going? Students are going to play that while the teacher sings the songs. Pajarito tan bonito, pajarito, ¿dónde vas? A la cera verdadera, ping pong fuera. Great. So now students are going to play that ostinato during the first half of the song while we sing, and then students are going to sing the second half of the song while we play that ostinato. So before, the first step is students are playing the ostinato the entire time. Now they're going to switch halfway through the song. So if I were the student, my part would be a la cera verdadera, ping pong fuera. And then we can switch jobs. So students would sing the first part, play the ostinato to the second part. It's just a way of thinking flexibly about which parts of the song belong to whom, and everyone having kind of some different assigned jobs in the song. So next, let's add a C chord. Half the class is going to sing and play a steady beat during the first half of the song, while the other half is very gently playing this ostinato. So if I am in the playing group, I have Pajarito tan bonito, pajarito, ¿dónde vas? A la cera verdadera, pin, pon, fuera. And if I am in the non-playing group, I have Pajarito tan bonito, pajarito, ¿dónde vas? Okay, and then of course we are going to switch jobs. I like this because not everyone is playing that chord at the same time. Everybody has a job, but we don't always have to be playing in unison as a class, especially during beginning ukulele, where there are so many different things for students to think about. It can be helpful to kind of limit the number of students playing at one time so that the teacher can kind of keep tabs on which students need what type of assistance during the activity. Okay, so then let's move into some strumming patterns. So where do you think that bird was going? That's the question we've been asking over and over in our ostinato. And now let's look at some different options. So you can see here that maybe we want to emphasize that the bird was leaving very early. So maybe we say tempranito, and then our pattern is always going to end with beach. So if we were to do that, it would sound like tempranito beach. Tempranito beach. We're going to add it to the song. Pajarito tan bonito, pajarito, ¿dónde vas? Or maybe we're going to say that they were going to the principal and then the beach. Principal beach. Pajarito tan bonito, pajarito, ¿dónde vas? You get the idea. So we're going to do one of these cards. Students can choose whichever one they want. And then all of our patterns end with just one down, beach. And then the last step is to add this activity with the game. This is a game that students would already know because we're going to sing the song and play the game as a way to introduce the song. But then when we combine it with this ukulele activity, when you are out in the game, you're going to take your ukulele and you're playing your own strumming pattern as your ostinato. And then every so often, like every third round or so, we're going to switch out students. So if you were playing a ukulele, now you go back to the game. So we can get a lot of different students involved in this ukulele portion. So we're thinking again about every student having a job. Every student has something musically that they need to contribute to the ensemble, but it does not always have to be ukulele in unison for everyone all the time. It can be really helpful to find ways for students to play individually or in small groups so that the teacher has some time to do some formative assessment and kind of keep tabs on what students need as they're progressing through these beginning ukulele activities. So students need to bring together a lot of different skills for ukulele. We are holding the instrument, we have our left hand fingering, we have our right hand strumming patterns, we are listening to the people around us, we are tracking where we are in the music. It takes a lot of coordination. So it helps to take things very slowly and let activities build over time. And then we're also going to think about breaking down some core skills with some of these beginning activities like what we looked at today. If you enjoyed this video, you may also like the one coming up next, all about singing games for upper elementary.